actually, at this point here, I remember thinking, is Applejack a long-lost relative of Calico Jack? And is there a whole Calico Jack family where their last names are Jack? Like, there's a lumberjack, there's a blackjack,
right.
There's a Union Jack.
So this is like how in My Little Pony, Applejack the pony, like their whole family is...
Welcome back to Our Flag Means Fan Fiction. Thank you for joining us. We're so happy to be in your ears or wherever we are.
Yeah.
Today, we are talking about the mysterious, the probably goofy, and almost certainly sexy.
Definitely sexy.
Applejack.
It's our newest character in the fandom.
Our newest character. If you don't know what we're talking about, pause and go on Blue Sky and read David Jenkins' Valentine's Day Christmas special, Valen Christmas special.
We'll drop a link in the show notes.
Yes,
yeah.
We'll put a link there for you to read all about Applejack and what an amazing character he is. We're super excited to talk about him. A lot of fanfic potential from this character. And I am Andrea. We are giving Carly a break from hosting this week. So I am hosting. Hello. But we do have some other folks here, of course, starting with Carly. You can, introduce yourself as if you're not normally the host.
Yeah. And I want to encourage all of you out there. You can host your own episode of this podcast if you want. Or
I had no idea that you wanted other people to host.
We don't hear that all the time.
What I'm constantly trying to pawn this podcast on please someone else do this. So
Carly is here. We are so blessed to have Carly as usual. And then we are cursed to have Ringa. Just kidding.
Yeah. No, I am a curse. I'm a curse, and you can't get away from me.
Well, we have to have, Con O'Neill's best friend, Ringa,
yes, so
to
much.
represent. Since Izzy is quite central to the story of Applejack, as we found out later, and we'll discuss. And again, I'm Andrea. I am here because I love Kevin Bacon, his little face, and his love of goats. He line dances. I line dance.
what's this lore about Kevin Bacon loves goats?
I just seen him on TikTok with goats.
Wow.
Him and his cute little wife doing goat things.
Oh my gosh, that's adorable.
Singing to goats, which is pretty good. Yeah.
Wow. I guess I haven't checked out Kevin Bacon TikTok, but I'm going to now.
I need to get rich so I can have goats like all the celebrities do.
Right. Yeah. I mean, really, this is we're aspiring to become goat owners and farmers.
Yeah.
But before we get into Applejack, we have to know, what is the most gay pirate thing that happened to you this week, starting with Carly?
I made friends with my neighborhood squirrel. Well, this has been
Before you even finish, I'm like, it's going to be friends with an animal. I
thought you were going to say a goat.
This has been an ongoing developing relationship that's happened over many months, but it's finally gotten to the point where my little neighborhood squirrel crawls up on my legs and sits in my lap while I feed him or her or them.
I want that so bad.
It's so just the sensation of the little paws on my legs and the little soft little body. And then it takes sometimes its little teeth graze my finger as it takes, and sometimes it holds kind of aggressively to my finger as it takes the walnuts from my hands.
I want it. I have a squirrel feeder on my back porch and they come and eat, but
you have to be the one providing the food.
Yes.
It has to associate you with food. And then you have to sit there and you have to give them food on your porch. Now, there are some Karens who, as we know, are very anti-feeding the squirrels. So if you are one of them, you are welcome to not listen to this podcast ever again.
Are these the same people that called the cops on you for feeding coyotes?
I wasn't feeding coyotes.
Right.
I was just near coyotes, and coyotes sense my vibe and they hang out with me. But they're same kind of Karens at the barn have been reporting these girls at the barn for having a pet squirrel that they feed there. And the girls are like, whatever, they're young, pre-Gen Z. I don't know if they're Gen Alpha or whatever, but they're like, okay, they figured out that Karens will just complain and they aren't fazed by it. So, but it's very cute. But I got to have a little of that Gen Alpha solidarity, millennial solidarity. I was like, don't listen to the Karens. Don't let the Karens stop you.
You feed that squirrel.
You be friends with your squirrel. You do what Native Americans have done for thousands and thousands
Seriously.
of years.
You think you guys are all like members of this barn because you like animals. What the hell is wrong with you? Let me play with my animals.
By next time we ask you the question, you have to have the squirrel with a name. You know, perhaps you'll know.
Well, I was
more about
thinking of calling her Pancho.
Oh, that's very good.
For those
Yeah.
who listen to Haunted Hollywood Hour,
Yes.
you would know
Pancho Barnes.
is which is a nice gender neutral name.
Yeah, that's very good.
The barber shop that is on the same street as the bar used to have a squirrel in their window. Like they have one of these habitat things. There's like birds in there now, but there was a squirrel and the squirrel's name was Tits.
So cute.
Oh, that's really good. Okay, so Ringo, what is the most gay pirate thing that happened to you this week?
Well, speaking of the bar, I just hosted a Tim Curry birthday party on Saturday night. So that was exciting. Tim is my like number one favorite boyfriend, celebrity person.
Wow, don't talk on.
How old is he these days?
Con knows. He just turned 79.
Oh, wow.
Con knows all about Tim Curry and me. And Con and Tim were both nominated for Best Actor in a Musical this same year. So yeah, that's one of the first things that I ever talked to Con about in person. You know, love my Northern Englishers.
Like, hey, you're so great, but what about Tim Curry though?
Honestly, though. But yeah, he's always been my number one. So I used to have little birthday parties for him at my house when I lived in a house and had all these crazy theme parties. But now that I live in a tiny apartment, I just have parties at my friend's bar. And so I was like, I'm having a Tim Curry birthday party. So we had coloring pages and a theme drink. And I brought all my Tim Curry memorabilia out and autographs and picture of me and him and all that. And we watched movies and listened to his music and stuff. And he's played a pirate at least 3 times.
I'm ashamed to say I was like a full adult the first time I saw Rocky Horror. I wish I had seen it when I was younger because seeing Tim Curry in that role like blew my brain and legs open.
That was absolutely like my weird, like gay awakening of just like, oh, things exist that are not typical, you know, like,
and I like it.
That wasn't my first experiences with Tim Curry because I was when I was little, I was a big fan of the movie Annie. So my first, knowledge of him was as Rooster. But then, he was in Home Alone. And honestly, if you were like a child or teen in the 90s, he did a voice on every cartoon that existed in the 90s. So like you have heard his voice growing up and forever and ever and ever. But yeah, I was 16 the first time I saw Rocky Horror, and it was just like, oh, hello.
Well, because, before that, I knew him as Pennywise, which is
that too. Wonderful. Yeah. It's amazing.
But not very sexy, more terrifying.
Well, if you listened to the Con O'Neill episode of this podcast, people will sexualize anything. And the Con clown character, people have very much sexualized. And, not my thing, but more power to you if it is yours.
Yeah, listen, there's something for everyone. There's somebody for everybody.
Yep.
Speaking of somebody for everybody. Oh, wait, I didn't do my gay pirate thing. Oh, yes. So it's actually last week, but I went to the Renaissance Fair down here in Southern California for Pirate Weekend. It was amazing. So many pirates everywhere. I met some Our Flag fans. And I did pirate trivia, which I did not do very well on, even though I was cheating, as a pirate should, by going on our Discord and asking questions. Ringa, thank you for answering. I still did not do that well, even with cheating, but that's okay.
I was like on my way somewhere when you were asking these questions, and I was like, oh, and my friends were like, what are you doing? And I'm like, someone's asking me pirate trivia questions, and they're like, are you helping them cheat? And I'm like, no.
I mean, yes, but there wasn't even a prize because my friend, she won, and they didn't give her anything. It's because she listens to Barrel of Oranges and other pirate history podcasts.
I was going to say, it didn't seem like it was like a competitive trivia team type thing. It just seemed like, I was like, oh, it's a Ren Fair thing. Everyone gets
it was like next to the toilet. It wasn't that serious.
Yeah. But I do know some of the questions. There was a couple you asked me that I couldn't remember, but
No, you did help. Thank you. But pirates, somebody for everybody, lovers. Let's talk about it. Applejack.
So I just have to say, I loved Applejack from the moment he was introduced. And I'm not like a huge Kevin Bacon fan, whatever. I appreciate his body of work. But, I'm like pretty neutral on Kevin Bacon. But from the first skeet, I was like, Applejack, I'm in.
Yeah.
I'm all in.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to figure out what it is. And I'm rereading David Jenkins' little story here. And I think it's that Steed likes Applejack. So I like Applejack.
That's what it comes down to.
Is that how is that all it is? Is that all it is?
I liked Applejack the moment that Ed was like jealous of him, because I love jealous and possessive Ed. And so this guy coming in to kind of like put conflict in the Gentlebeard is right up my alley, because they need to not have a like happily ever after. They need to have some like real world problems, or it's just not as entertaining to me. Right. They, I don't think that Steed actually was like flirting, at least consciously, with Applejack, but I definitely think that Ed perceived it that way. And so that's great. I love that. Keep it up.
Yeah.
I agree. We should just narrate this little section where Applejack is introduced and give like a brief overview of what happens in David Jenkins' fic.
Okay. And also to for those who haven't read it, there's a big gap of time between when we meet Applejack in the beginning and then when we find out more about him at the very end. So there's all this time in between where we're all thinking like, what's his story? Oh, not what we were thinking, or maybe some were thinking, actually.
Well, and it's not like it is a little bit of time in the episode, but it was mostly that it was a chunk of time in real life.
Yes, in real
where between when David was like writing it, there was months that like passed. So in the actual episode, if it were made the way it is, it was probably like from the beginning of the episode to the end of the episode.
Right. It's like 25 minutes.
But in our time, it was like months till we figured out what the deal is with Applejack for real. So
yes. All right, Carly, you ready to
So this is like the briefest, too long didn't read summary of what happens before we get into Applejack. Okay, so David Jenkins' fic, it is allegedly a Christmas story. Someone finds a manuscript, or an editor finds a manuscript, is reading through it, and then really starts paying attention to this part where these two pirates, Steed and Ed, are opening an inn and settling down together. 2 years have passed since the events of season 2. And there's a little tension between Steed and Ed. And there's this big able wedding that they're hosting at their inn. And Ed is very focused on kind of like telling stories with the guests and like folding the linens and wrapping up the silverware. And Steed's like trying to get everything coordinated and together. And Steve's kind of stressed out about everything. And he's like, Ed, he's annoyed with Ed. And he's like, Ed, can you just like help out here? And he's like, no, I'm doing this front of the house thing over here. That's my thing. And he's kind of like, hey, Steve, why don't you just calm down a bit? That's why we have Applejack here to help us. And Applejack is described as, I'll do this. I'll narrate the scene where Applejack is introduced. Steed interrupts and calls Ed aside. Can he please help make up some of the rooms? Steed is drowning. They're at full capacity. Ed bristles at this. He's really more of a front of the house guy. We've talked about this. Steed says that's not a thing. This is basically a 2-man operation. Ed says Steed's being melodramatic. That's why they hired Applejack, an amiable drifter who helps with odd chores around the inn. Again, as our budget is unlimited, Applejack is played by Kevin Bacon. A guest asks for an extra room key. Steed calls for Applejack, who runs to the front desk to help the guest. Steed says he wishes he had 10 more just like him. Ed mutters, I bet. Steed asks what that's supposed to mean. Ed says Steed gets nervous whenever Applejack is around. Steed denies this, but it's clear he has an affinity for this handsome drifter turned handyman / bellman / barback / chambermaid. And I love the / chambermaid. Very well done, David Jenkins, sir. Steed. Applejack's a good man and a solid employee. Still, with the help, the inn has become a management feat. It's been 2 years since they discovered the place and renovated it, and a little more over a year since it open to customers. Ed and Steed never dreamed it would catch on so quickly. And it goes on, it goes on, it goes on. Okay, so that's what we get from Applejack.
Yes, that's our intro to Applejack and where we first meet him, right? So
I like him. I like him because he's eager to help. I like him because Steed likes him, but he's denying it. I like that he's the amiable drifter.
Yeah, just based on this intro alone, and again, I'm making assumptions, but I got like major himbo vibes. I love a himbo. Like that's my favorite type of man character. Think like Emmett from Twilight. Kellen Lutz, just like head empty, no thoughts. So it's like down to help, a nice, simple man, except, Kevin Bacon, of course. But yeah, it's interesting because when I first read it, I was just overwhelmed with like, what is happening? I can't think about anything. And then Carly, when you on our Discord was like, oh, I love Applejack. I was, wait, I also love Applejack. You're right. I do love this character. What a great addition.
Yeah, it was almost unfortunate that it turned out the way it did because Carly had some really great
headcanon theories.
Actually, a bunch of people were making...
Again, this was my idea because I'm so funny. My idea was that it was Gallagher back with amnesia.
It was both of you like coming up with all kinds of stuff. That one Gay Pirate News Hour, they were like, yeah, you said that it was Calico Jack with amnesia, which is fucking hilarious. But I think, just... that would have been so good.
Yeah.
That would have been so good.
Yeah. Calico Jack, he got he survived the cannonball.
Cannonball to the head.
He floated to shore. Someone shaved him. Someone dressed him in clothes.
Yeah.
He like completely...
And they didn't recognize him because he looks clean. And it would have been so good.
So that didn't turn out to be. But there were a lot of theories because it was months between here and then when we see Applejack again.
Right.
Yeah. So do we want to jump to what we find out about him?
Well, I do have to say, though, there is this middle part where Applejack, he was kind of like David left for a while. Then he came back and wrote more. And Applejack like helps bring Steed and Ed.
Oh, yes.
Together.
I forgot about his couples therapy phase.
Yeah. Do you remember? Because Steed is trying to fix this cake. Ed is doing the forks and wrapping the forks up in napkins. And Applejack's like, no, I will do the forks. You help Steed. And so that way Steed and Ed have a moment to talk.
Yeah.
And it's also Applejack has a really nice moment where he calls them on their shit a little bit, where he just asks them questions.
Yeah.
And he asked, let me see, I'm going to scroll here. Continue talking amongst yourselves.
I know I mentioned this on the Gay Pirate News Hour when we talked about Applejack before, but one of my favorite tweets about Applejack was that someone from the Canyon who was like disenchanted with David Jenkins, but was kind of still following along with this story. And they were like, well, one thing that the Canyon and David Jenkins can agree on is that Gentlebeard just needs that one extra guy. They just need that third.
So I've gotten to this part where Applejack is, and this was like a month after the original intro to Applejack was posted. So Applejack is helping Steed with the cake. And Steed's kind of like, thanks, Applejack. We really needed this. They booked the entire inn out of nowhere. If this event works, there'll be others. And Applejack is like, do you like this, running an inn? Which is a very therapist question to ask.
Yes.
Yeah.
And Steed says, of course, which is a very denial.
Yeah, I love that too, because again, this is not happily ever after. This is like, we're doing the thing that we wanted to do, but did we really want to do this?
Right.
And Applejack says this curious thing. He says, Ed seems to love it. And Steed says, really? What tells you that? Applejack notes how Ed handles the linens, arranges the fine glassware. He's quite adept at it. Steed, if inconsistent, interest isn't Ed's problem. Maintaining interest, that's his issue. And Applejack says, and what's yours? It's your issue, Steed. And Steed,
very probing questions from someone that, again, I had originally assumed was head empty, no thoughts, but in fact, many thoughts.
And at this point, it's like, well, who is this? You know, like, who is this guy? Because it seemed like he could almost be like maybe the villain or something. Like,
yeah, at this point, he's like a little too smart. So it's like, is he the bad guy?
Yeah. And because why is he like in here asking them all these questions and like getting so close and everything? But
And actually, at this point here, I remember thinking, is Applejack a long lost relative of Calico Jack? And is there a whole Calico Jack family where their last names are Jack? Like there's a lumberjack, there's a blackjack,
right.
there's a Union Jack.
So this is like how in My Little Pony, Applejack, the pony, like, their whole family is named Apple Things. So in Calico Jack's family, their whole family is named Jack Things.
Yes.
That's very funny. Also, can I just quick tangent? I was trying to find like Applejack content on Tumblr. Huge mistake.
Oh yeah.
Like, oh my god.
Yeah, lots of pony porn.
And I was like, I've led myself astray. I've done something wrong.
I know a lot of people when this came out and everyone on Blue Sky was like Applejack, and people were like, the pony, like, because
why is the pony there? I guess David was unaware of.
I'm sure.
There is a reason, though, that he named him Applejack. We need to find out what that reason is. And I mean,
it's not a bad theory that he's related to Calico Jack.
Right. What if Spanish Jackie is related to Calico Jack? And
his face.
I think that Jackie, along with Izzy, both have a big disdain for Calico Jack, and
you can hate your family members.
No, most of us
hate our family members, right? That is what makes a family in many cases.
I don't know.
Or maybe it's like a drag house where you're all like, if you are from the same drag house, you use your name to like match. So maybe they're all from the same like pirate house. But, even in drag families, you can have falling outs. You can not like each other anymore.
I appreciate
a pirate family.
all your creativity and your, conjuring up story here. I just would like to point out, as the voice of reason for once, how many pirates are named things around the word Jack. There's a lot of them. So
Calico Jack has a lot of relatives.
Yes. Well,
and listen, it's like the Davenports, that famous drag family. You know how many Davenports there are? So many.
Here's the thing. Now, I know that continuity is not David Jenkins' strong suit, but if we get season 3, and if this is part of it, and if Applejack is a big part of season 3, and if Applejack ends up being related to Calico Jack, I'm going to be even more angry.
Why?
That in season 2, we didn't get any kind of mention of Mary and Ann having anything to do with Calico Jack. Mm-hmm. Because if you're going to create this whole character and make him related to Calico Jack, but you didn't mention his actual wife being a character in the show, I am still disappointed that we didn't see Ann and Mary knowing who Steed was the whole time and just fucking with him on purpose because he killed their husband. I'm still mad about that.
Maybe they hated their husbands.
Well, I'm not saying they didn't, but they kind of hate each other too, if you remember.
Yeah, but like in a sexy way.
Exactly. That's kind of their thing. So even if they didn't like him, I just am like, it was right there. You're like,
right to kill him first, right? So.
Yeah, exactly. That too. Yeah, you killed him before we could. That kind of thing. So I don't know. And of course, we had so little of season 2.
We had so little time.
I just, like 1 or 2 lines tossed in there would have been so funny to be like, oh, so you knew who I was and you were fucking with me this whole time, because that would made Steed angry, I think, and it would have been very funny.
Yeah.
Because he still is always like, oh, but oh, you were so nice or whatever. Like, he's still naive about, despite how far he's come, he's still naive about a lot of the things in the pirate world.
Yeah, that's true. Okay, so before we continue further, I'm going to ask us a question, which, Ringa, you kind of already alluded to. So how do we think that Applejack really fits into our gentle beard dynamic now that we're in the Inn era?
I imagine there's going to be some sexual tension. These 3 work together to eventually connect with Izzy's revenge. And I think it's going to be sexy.
I was way more on board with him being a third in their relationship before we found out about the Izzy connection.
No, you're not so much.
Now I'm not so much.
Why?
I don't know.
I mean,
I guess part of it is
Izzy had attraction to Steed.
Yeah, for sure. I think
Applejack has attraction to Steed.
That's probably part of it. Why I don't like
it makes Ed jealous. Mm-hmm. This is beautiful. This is tasty. What's the problem here?
If Izzy wanted to be or had some kind of relationship with Applejack and it didn't work out, and then he wanted a relationship with Ed and it didn't work out, and he, at least by the end of season 2, was much closer with Steed and that didn't work out, I kind of feel like the three of them getting together while Izzy is dead is really not great for me personally.
Right. It's like when someone's like spouse dies and they like marry like their sibling or their best friend or something. Like, don't
yes,
it's weird.
But and what if Izzy's on board with it? He wants Applejack to fuck
I don't know.
Ed
I don't
a little bit.
Well, if he was fucking with Ed, like,
and he's like, yeah, the blondie's cute. Go for it. Go for it. Go for it, Applejack.
I think there would be a limited amount where Izzy would be on board with this, but it also depends on how because I have how I want Izzy to come back and how I think they actually would have Izzy come back, which is like not in a live way, you know?
Okay, how do you want Izzy to come back? Because I want Izzy to come back corporeally.
Yes, I would like him to actually be alive.
Yeah.
And come back and be an actual alive human in this show again. And at the end of this thing, he's in the gravy basket, right? So it could happen. But it seemed to me by a lot of just chatter and whatnot that the idea was to have Izzy back as like a ghost or something, you know? And that could be funny, but I don't know. So if that happens, I would be less on board with all of this. If actual human Izzy comes back as actual alive Izzy, then I could...
It would just be much more interesting if Izzy comes back.
Another polycule.
So I think it'll be better comedy. It'll be more interesting. So I think that is what's going to happen in season 3.
Well, I'm going to deflect from both of you because I am the gentle beard purist in the group. And so to me, I think of Applejack as just another like plot device for them. And that's probably not very fair to Applejack. So sorry, but that is what's in my heart. But I really enjoy the idea of him, you know, like you were saying, Ringo, like making Ed jealous, making them talk to each other. Yeah. I really enjoy that for whatever reason, they need a third person of some kind to help them as a couple. But I enjoy Applejack in that role. And I think that for some reason, he seems to fit perfectly into it.
But you know, the thing about David Jenkins and Our Flag Means Death is even the most throwaway characters have much more to them than just a plot device. They all have 4, 5, 70 million dimensions. So I think we can count on Applejack to deliver.
In that regard, I think that I would be more on board with this if I knew more about Applejack. Now, we know so little about him, and I need to know, why was he there? Did he go there on purpose? When's the last time he saw Izzy? What's their actual... I need to know a lot more about his motivations before I can decide if this is something I'm into or not, because how he and Izzy left their...
right. Makes a big difference.
It's a big deal. Yeah.
So, Carly, can you tell us what we find out about?
Yeah, I was like, I feel like we jumped ahead
a little bit.
We didn't get to the Izzy part. So
let's do it. Tell us the reveal.
When we cut to the revenge, Jim has Izzy's ring, and Jim is inspecting Izzy's ring and notice that there's a name written on the inside, which says Teddy.
Jim has a lot of things of Izzy's that were left on his grave, just saying.
Yeah, I know.
Well, as you said, continuity.
There's a little
continuity is a little crazy. And then David Jenkins was like, oh yeah, I forgot about that, about several things with this, which is why writers have continuity teams and it's not just like one guy writing everything. But,
That's why it's a fanfic. A David Jenkins fanfic is Valentine's special.
This is also why David Jenkins, when season 3 gets picked up, you are welcome to hire any one of us because we are obsessed.
Yeah.
We know everything.
We can definitely be normal in a room for sure.
We can totally be normal. We can totally pitch ideas.
I mean, I've already written for these actors.
That's true. I mean, you basically just submit the recording as your resume.
Yeah. It was almost like a spec script and they performed it. You know, I basically have done this already. So
yeah, you basically wrote season 3.
I basically did.
So we are here available for your writer's room. We're obsessed.
Yes.
We're also normal.
But we're also normal. Definitely normal.
All 3 of us are professionals who have professional jobs that are important jobs.
Yeah.
We do them really well.
Yep.
So you can count on us to be normal but obsessive at the same time. Okay, so focusing back to normal. Okay, so in the fic, Jim has the ring. It says Teddy on it. We don't see Applejack. We're like wondering, who's Teddy? What's going on? Maybe someone who is smart was like, is Teddy Applejack? I don't think many people picked up on that though. If you did, write in and say, hey, actually, when I saw Teddy, I'm like, ooh, maybe Applejack is Teddy. And congratulations, I give you a gold star for seeing that happen. But what really happens is all hell breaks out at the inn. The wedding guests are actually folks that are there to kill Steed and Ed because they are avenging the Badmint's deaths. Applejack's like, here, let me help you. Applejack knows that they are actually Gentlebeard, Steed and Ed, because Applejack is like, you guys are Gentlebeard, right? And
which was too much, I think, to use.
He fanned her a little bit hard for them, which
is questionable to me. Yeah, that's why I need to know more about him. Okay. Is he joking? Is he fucking with them? Like what? Because it just doesn't go back to Izzy with me to be like, oh my god, Gentlebeard, you know, like.
Okay,
right,
okay. And so one of the things that Applejack says is that you buried my friend on your beach. So hinting that Applejack.
As far as we know, there's only one body on the beach.
Yeah.
As far as we know.
And then Steed is finally like, can you at least tell us your name? And Applejack says Theodore or Ted. No one's called me that in ages. So the idea there is the ring said Teddy. His name is Ted/Theodore. No one has called him that in ages. A lot of questions here. One, why doesn't Ed know Teddy?
Good question.
Yeah.
Or is, this is such a short script. Is there a moment where camera cuts to Ed, realization on his face at any one of these points? Because Ed has said that Izzy made him who he was. They've been together for a long time. So is Ted from pre-Ed Izzy?
I imagine that is the case regardless of who Teddy actually is to Izzy. I imagine that he is like from very, very long ago. And Fang clearly knows who this Teddy person is. But as we know, Fang is like a listener and a comforting person, and Ed is not usually, at least not to Izzy. So it's possible that Izzy has told things to Fang that he hadn't told to Ed. Now, it's been a minute since I've read this fic. Was there anything in here that specifically stated, I'm thinking like when Fang says like, oh, that's Izzy's story to tell or something, like that this Teddy person and Izzy were like lovers, or is it just like, oh, this is a person from Izzy's past?
We just make the assumption because his name is on the ring. But yeah, I don't think they ever explicitly say the words like, oh yeah, that's his ex or whatever.
I think that for all of us kind of assumed, yeah, that's his ex. But now I'm like, this might be like a brother, an estranged brother or something like that, because
Teddy uses the word friend.
Teddy uses the word friend, although that's the word that Steed and Ed use for each other. So I don't necessarily put any stock in that. But I don't know. From what we've seen so far, Applejack does not seem to me to be Izzy's type romantically. And I know that, and again, this is not canon. This is not like, because David Jenkins is not great with the continuity things and whatnot, especially since this was...
He's a human being, like,
exactly.
Well, and truly, this was, I mean, there's typos in this. Like, it was just, here's some ideas I put on Blue Sky.
So none of this is canon, really, and whatnot, but if we remember Khan saying that he had a name tattooed on his wrist, Izzy, that we never actually see in the show, but it was there, and that name is not Teddy.
Okay, so that was the thing. So I was trying to revisit some of the Izzy lore that, again, I'm an Ed, I'm a gentle beard girly. I'm so sorry to say I'm not that familiar. I apologize.
It's okay. I am.
I was trying to like find it, but it's all like interspersed random places.
It is.
So I knew about the name being tattooed. I didn't know that we actually knew what the name was.
We don't.
I
mean, I know,
but you won't tell us, but you are telling us it's not Teddy.
It's not. Yeah, and it's not common knowledge, so
that's fine. You don't have to tell us. But my point is, or my thought, not my point. I have no points. I'm an idiot. But my thoughts are that I still see a world in which this could work, because what I imagine happened in real life, in the actual canon development of the show, David had some ideas of what was going to happen with Izzy's past. Khan had ideas. They probably talked briefly about it and then just kind of went on diverging paths and never spoke of it again.
Yes, that is definitely, because I talked to Khan about Teddy too, separate from the wrist tattoo thing, and just Khan's like, I don't know who Teddy, like, I don't know what that is. But yeah, he said, like, yes, they talked, him and David, about names and this and that, but it was not like a important plot point, and it wasn't something that was going to be, they were going to show the name on the wrist at the end of season 2, but the way that they had it set up for him to be laying in Ed's arms, it didn't work out to where they could do that because it was the wrong wrist. So they just ended up not doing it. And so things might have been much different if that had happened. But
much different in the show or much different in this fanfic?
Well, different in the fanfic for one thing, because if this name had been revealed, definitely I think David would remember it because people would have made a big deal about it. Just as we do with anything, any little detail in the show. But I think revealing the name also just makes it more important. Like, now people want to know about this, So it could be Teddy, could be, an ex-love, or who knows what. But now the more I think about it, the more I'm like, this could be because we know nothing about Izzy's like family, but Teddy could be a brother or something that would also be very important to him, to where he'd want to hang on to this ring, and is very important to him.
Well, it can't be brother because Teddy said friends.
But he'd be trying to hide it. But also, wasn't there something about the ring being Izzy's mother's? Wasn't that a rumor at some point?
That was like a sort of Khan
secret headcanon.
That was sort of like something Khan kind of mentioned at some point that it could be, but it wasn't like ever confirmed. And I think a lot of people got that idea because Khan asked for it to be an emerald because that was his mother's birthstone. Yes. So in real life, that was like a tribute to Khan's mother, but it was never like for Izzy's mom, really. And
thought that were like months.
And in Khan's little poem that he wrote for...
Well, I was just about to bring that up. Yeah, because in that poem, right, then that is about the death of his lover, right?
Right. That is about this person who the ring was for, because Khan definitely has told us, like, for this podcast, that the ring was meant to be given to someone. And again, that's Khan's, like, personal details for his character. That is not something the writers came up with. Right. But he wrote in the poem, that this lover died. So none of this is canon, but
I actually like that the lover, if the lover is Teddy, that Teddy died, because this means that people who die can come back.
Or
right?
Yes.
Right?
Or
no.
Not yes and
right.
Or this could be a scam artist pretending to be Teddy because the only person who knows what he looks like is dead.
Okay, that's dark. Sure.
I mean,
that would bum me out.
Bleak.
I feel like me out. I like Teddy died and came back. And he's gonna bring Izzy back.
You never know. I do think that even if Fang knows who Teddy is, and Ed might know who Teddy is, but like have forgotten the name or something, I feel like probably people didn't meet Teddy because it all happened before. So, and
it could be a faking death And I will once again bring up Twilight. So like when Edward disappears from Bella's life for her protection, maybe Teddy had done the same thing.
Could be. But also, Carly, you said it couldn't be his brother because he says he's a friend. But hello, they're pirates. It doesn't mean anything just because he says something. Mm-hmm. I mean, if he was his lover, friend isn't exactly accurate either. So we don't know enough about Applejack to know, is he the real guy? Is he the type to lie? Is he, going to tell even though he knows who Steed and Ed are, is he going to reveal all this stuff about himself to these people he doesn't really know that well or doesn't maybe trust? Because honestly, people who've been pirates for a long time in this show, they see Steed coming and they're like, okay, well, this guy,
So we are interrupting this podcast that was recorded a couple weeks ago with a podcast that is recorded Sunday night. Not Sunday night, Sunday afternoon. Because I had a brain inspiration as I was listening to this episode and various theories. I realized all these theories are actually not correct. And I have the new correct theory.
There's the thing about theories, there's only one correct one.
There's only one correct theory. And I think I have the correct theory about Applejack and Teddy. Okay. Izzy before Ed, okay, right? He's a pirate. He's on a pirate ship. He and his 3 friends, okay? So we're cutting to, this is like late 1600s.
Okay.
His 3 friends are the guy who Izzy now has tattooed on his wrist.
Right. Can we make up a name just for the sake of
make up a name? Joe.
I was going to say Philip, but you know what? Joe.
Okay. There's Philip Joe. PJ.
Yeah, PJ. There we go. It's PJ.
Okay. So there's PJ, there's Teddy, and there's Izzy.
And the 3 is a little trio.
A little trio of little pirates, young pirates getting their start. PJ is a wonderful, charming individual, and Izzy is madly in love with him. Because Izzy's not good with feelings, never tells him. But one night when he's drunk, he gets PJ's name tattooed on his wrist. And that is the only way he will ever let this love that he has for PJ out. Okay.
Right. And then he starts wearing long sleeves. So no one even knows. So he's got the tattoo, but no one is seeing it.
Yeah. Long sleeves, no one will ever know. Meanwhile, a thing develops between Teddy and PJ, and feelings, you could tell, are blossoming. And Izzy is noticing this, but he keeps it all to himself, right? Finally, and it's breaking his heart. He's devastated by this. Finally, Teddy takes Izzy aside and says, I want to propose métallage with PJ. And Izzy's like, okay, what are you going to do? And Teddy's like, I don't know. Do you have any ideas? And Izzy's like, you should put your name on the inside of a ring and then give that ring to him.
Wouldn't it make more sense for PJ to be the one to want to propose, and then PJ makes a ring with Teddy's name on it? No, I guess you're right. Yeah, okay. Or either way, one of them will get engaged.
Let me go with mine. I just want to get maximum heartache and angst out of Izzy here. Okay. And then we'll play with the mentally.
We'll see the order. Okay.
Yeah. And so for some reason, Teddy can't go pick up the ring when it's done getting engraved. And so he sends Izzy to do it while Teddy goes on some mission or something. And so Izzy picks up the ring that has Teddy inside of it. And he knows that Teddy wants to give this to PJ, who is the love of Izzy's life.
And also the love of Teddy's life, apparently.
Yeah. Okay. But Izzy's never gonna tell. So something happens to Teddy at that point. He disappears. Where does he go? I don't know. And Izzy has this ring that was the sign that Teddy was going to propose to PJ. And now PJ, when they're stressed out, what happened to Teddy? Where did he go? Is he dead? And PJ's having a lot of feelings about this and confesses to Izzy, I think something was happening between us. And
okay, so in your version of events, Teddy's in love with PJ enough that he wants to propose, but they are not actually dating. Teddy's decided
here's the thing. Maybe they are dating, and Teddy and PJ were both ready to take it to the next level.
Okay.
But it was that thing of, is he ready to take it to the next level? Is it going to happen or not?
Okay.
And Izzy knows that Teddy was going to take it to the
anything because,
which is what PJ wanted.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. And so Izzy, as PJ is confessing, I was really hoping that things were going to happen with us. We were going to get made a lot together. Izzy's like, finally, I'm going to do it. I'm going to give this ring to PJ so that PJ knows that Teddy was going to propose, but he just can't do it because he's just in so much love with PJ. And then PJ dies. And then Izzy carries this ring with Teddy's name on it as like this symbol of like not only Izzy's inability to express his own love, but Izzy's inability to even do what, he kind of told himself he was going to do. He's going to give this ring over. And it's this devastating symbol of the three of them and the loss of both of them, but also the love of Izzy's life. So that's my theory.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, it does tie in together the two sort of conflicting ideas that we had of like Izzy's, past love and who is Teddy. So I like it. I like it brings them together, brings those stories together. I definitely like the angst, double loss, right? We have loss of like best friend Teddy and loss of secret obsession. Obsession's maybe not the right word. A secret love, whatever, PJ. And boy, PJ must have had some fucking magical dick to have these two men both wanting to marry him. And he's just, oh wow, look at me, my life's so easy. And then he's dead. And in this story, this all happens before he meets Ed. So by the time he meets Ed, both Teddy and PJ are gone out of his life. And he's a sad sack is where we're at.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
But I'm totally open to this happening early in the Ed relationship too. I'm okay with this overlapping as well. Yeah. But what was your idea? Your idea was that Teddy, PJ engraved.
Well, I guess it wouldn't make sense to give someone a ring with their own name engraved on it. But I also feel like that's a kind of really weird ego thing to give someone a ring with your name engraved on it. Like usually when people do that, they put both of their names on it. So I'm trying to like wrap my mind around like, which way does this work where it's less weird as a gift?
Well, I mean, the idea that the ring is like Teddy's heart and like this is, but but the fact that it says Teddy, not Theodore, makes me think that maybe PJ would engrave the ring with Teddy on it.
Right. That's what I'm saying.
And okay, so that makes sense. So if it was PJ was the one to get the ring made, and there's two rings. Maybe PJ has two rings.
Two rings. There we go.
PJ has one ring that says PJ, one ring that says Teddy,
and they're supposed to each get one.
Yeah, and
so like he wears the Teddy ring. So like the intention is that PJ wears a Teddy ring and Teddy wears the PJ ring. Yeah. Okay, that's cute. And this ring's lost to time. The ring that had the name PJ on it is gone.
Yeah,
it died with him somehow. Okay, yeah. So then,
or who knows? Maybe no. Well, that overcomplicates things. Yeah,
right.
But somehow Izzy got the Teddy ring and was supposed to give it to PJ,
but he just couldn't do it.
And somehow Izzy got both rings. Was supposed to pick them up because Teddy and PJ had to go somewhere, and PJ's like, look, I ordered these rings to get engraved. We have to go do this thing. Izzy, can you just go real quick, pick up those rings? And Izzy's like holding in all of his absolute heartbreak, the shattered pieces of his heart, which are like on the floor. Right. And he's like, sure, I will pick up your Maid of Lodge rings. As they go off, PJ and Teddy go off to do some battle, whatever. And Izzy comes back. Does he give PJ the ring? And PJ's like, something happens to the PJ.
Here's my alternative theory.
Yeah.
So we have the three amigos, right? We've got PJ, Izzy, and Teddy. And at some point, PJ and Teddy become a couple, and Izzy's the odd one out. And he's also secretly in love with PJ, and he's very sad. PJ dies first. Okay, something happens. So yeah, the rings get made. PJ orders them, whatever. Like all of that happens. But then PJ dies first. And then Izzy and Teddy, in their grief, connect to each other. They have a relationship. And then Teddy dies. gravy basket dies. And so somewhere in the shuffle of that is when Izzy gets the teddy ring, which he holds on to, because it is Izzy and Teddy getting together is about PJ. It's not really about them together. It's both of them wishing the other was PJ, right?
Yeah.
And then somewhere in there, that's why Izzy is wearing the teddy ring, because it reminds him of both of those relationships and all of it kind of like swirled together.
Yeah.
And then somewhere in there, Teddy goes to the gravy basket. But then that begs the question, how long was he in the gravy basket? Because when the only bit that we have seen is that someone can be in there for 3 days or so.
Yeah.
Well, I guess we don't really know how much time, because time has no meaning on the show. But it seems short. Right?
Yeah.
So if Teddy was only in the gravy basket for a short period of time, why wouldn't he come back? Could he not come back? Was he in there way longer? I guess we don't know the rules.
Maybe he was in, I mean, and it's also so many things can happen in pirate land. He could have got kidnapped and taken across the ocean. He could have gotten arrested by the British Navy. And I'm also thinking that when PJ died, Izzy slipped PJ's ring in with his body as they buried him at sea and held on to the teddy ring. That was also a moment where Izzy was like, I'm going to tell Teddy that PJ intended to mate a lodge together. But then he's like, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to let this ring slip away with PJ's body. Yeah. And then he's like, okay, no, I have this ring now and I have to confess up at some point. And then he doesn't do that. And then Teddy gets kidnapped, gets arrested, gets killed. Something happens and he's taken away for whatever, 40 years. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, now we just have to write it.
Yeah, that's true. Maybe what I'll do is I'll get a bunch of podcast episodes out and then put them on schedule, and then I'll just spend some time writing this story.
Yeah. Okay. Well, now you need to make an outline based on what we just talked about and go from there. But yeah, no, I like it. I think it is a good way to tie. I mean, I will say I don't think it's essential to tie the two lores together, because I think ultimately neither one is canon, right? So like, who cares? Like, what if and when we get season 3, you know, whatever happens with that storyline, if the Teddy thing is completely dropped because that was just David being a goof, like, who knows? But I like it. I like it as a nice way to bring the two sort of different ideas that we know exist in the universe together.
Yeah. Cool. Anyway, thank you for joining me on this short,
our little snippet, our little guy.
Yeah. Alrighty.
Now, Ed, they would take seriously, but Steed, you know, he's very gullible. So
this is also post killing Ned Lowe. So, you know, there's a little bit of credit there. Also, I just have to say, I keep laughing at my own joke in my head, which is, you know, he could be his brother, because according to White Lotus, incest is really in right now. So
it's very true. The coconut milk is off.
Can I reread? I'm going to reread the section where Jim is looking at the ring and then the whole conversation with the crew, because I feel like we skimmed over that, but it was a really important conversation.
It was, and that's I don't remember it very well. So
we're on the Revenge. Exterior Revenge Day or whatever. Back on the Revenge, Jim plays with the ring around their kerchief left to them by Izzy. They look at the ring from time to time, silver and emerald. The emerald seems to glow brighter when the sea is choppy and the clouds set in. They spot a simple worn engraving inside the band of the ring. Teddy. No reference to Teddy among Izzy's Spartan belongings. Frenchie was given his scope and dagger, Roach his boots, though they didn't fit. But the prize for Jim was the kerchief and ring. Oftentimes, they'd wear just that for Archie. Kinky. Wonder if that was his father. Lucius inspects the ring with Jim. Maybe he was mated, surmises Black Pete. Oh, that poor bastard. The Izzy they knew was a lot of things, but he would have been a handful as a spouse. Maybe Teddy's why he became a handful. Roach. It's Ed. Teddy's another form of Edward, or sometimes Tedward. Fang shakes his head. Captain never went by Ted. He'd rather be called Shithead. Jim catches a look in Fang's eye. You knew Izzy longer than any of us. Fang nods. He knew Izzy longer than Blackbeard. Okay. Okay. Jim, who's Teddy? Fang. I'll never say. No one's business but Izzy's. Before they can press further, Captain Frenchie stands at the bridge. Merry Christmas, everyone. Okay.
So
reading it slowly, reading it out loud helps because I'm like, okay, I skimmed some things, but some things are really important. Fang knew Izzy before Blackbeard. Okay.
So
what's the whole, okay. And also, sorry, I'm like interrupting. I'm so rude here. Like my thoughts are going everywhere. Yeah. What's with the emerald seems to grow brighter when the sea is choppy and the clouds set in.
I mean, it could just be pretty words.
It's just writing. It's my
words.
But I'm thinking of, a seagull as a psychopomp and the liminal space that's created by storms and lightning. And did Teddy come back to life? Did Teddy die and come back to life?
Maybe. But we don't get any kind of wording here that says that Teddy was a lover. We get basically a confirmation that it was not his father and that it's not Ed. And that's kind of it. So really Teddy could be anyone. The thing about this scene that drives me crazy is the whole Jim was given this, cravat thing and the ring. Jim was given the glove, right, that we know about. But the way that he says all this in this scene makes it seem like Izzy had a will. And then he gave these things away on his deathbed or something because it's Roach got this and French again. And it's funny that Roach had the boots, but they don't fit him. Give the boots to someone that does fit. That's
Also, I was why did he still have two boots?
Why did he have two boots?
Why did he have two boots?
He only had one leg. Can't put a boot over that hoof. It's going to fall right off.
I mean, if he did, maybe he'd still be alive because I'm not getting into all that. But yeah, I don't know. I
also, wait, sorry. I'm back on the boots being too big. Izzy, who we're going to assume is the same height as Khan, is so small. And Samba Roach is so big. Why would the boots be too big?
I don't know, but pirates would then have just given it or sold them or given them to the next person that could wear them. I know that Roach isn't keeping them in his cabin sentimental something.
Oh no, he's quite a sentimental little.
He
gem.
is, but they would want them to be used. You know, on a pirate ship, there's no I don't know.
This is a comedy. Just
listen. You're the one that's this emerald is glowing in the clouds, so the sky's white. Which I don't necessarily hate that theory. That's interesting, but I need to know so much more about Applejack. This is intriguing to me.
This is why fan fiction happens.
Yeah.
So we get more Applejack.
It really could go so many ways.
Well, and I do think for me, again, as someone who is looking at the show through the eyes of, I am most focused on Ed, and then I'm most focused on Ed's relationship with Steed. But I like Izzy a great deal. I care about him. I would really like to know that he was happy at one time, that he, could be happy again if he were to come back. So to me, I want Teddy to be someone that really mattered to him and that is a good person and that, there's a beautiful love story for Izzy as well. That's what I want. But again, I'm coming at it from a very different lens, I think, than other people who don't think that way.
If we put all of the things that David has written and all of the personal headcanons of Khan's, including his poem and stuff together, then it does seem that this guy, maybe Teddy, was his lover and he died and the ring was his. But then there's a different person whose name he has tattooed on his wrist. And I don't know. It's interesting because, I mean, as far as the name, it really could just be David not remembering the name and giving it because in the
continuity is not his strong suit.
No,
but in the deciding to change it because it's okay, it was never on screen, so I'm going to change it because I have some poetic thing that I'm going to do Teddy.
And I love the name Theodore. Such a good name.
In the poem, he does say after this, he didn't want to love again because he didn't want to give his heart away fully because it was so painful. So I mean that could all line up. It'd be very interesting if Teddy came back from the dead, and now Izzy's about to as well because we do see Izzy in the gravy basket at the very end of this,
and then it turns into a zombie love story.
Ooh, interesting.
What in your mind would be the most satisfying outcome with Teddy.
Well, so for me, I'm going to be controversial again. I'm so sorry. But my controversy is that I would be happy with seeing Izzy and Teddy in flashbacks and seeing their love story, and the present Teddy that we get is, we learn more about him, but he doesn't love again because Izzy is gone, and that was his great love, and that's the story. And to me, I think I wouldn't mind seeing that. I think that would be a beautiful story to tell, but that also means I'm accepting that Izzy is dead, which I know other folks are not there. Nor should you be if you don't want to be.
Yeah. So my take, my happiest version, my most satisfying version at this point for me is Teddy has died. He figured out the way to come back. He's going to help Seed and Ed figure out a way to bring Izzy back. Izzy and Teddy rekindle their love. But before that, there's a little spicy tension between Seed, Ed, and Teddy. It's all very satisfying. But ultimately, Izzy and Ted reunite and something happens, and Izzy's healed through love from Teddy.
Okay.
Go, Ringa.
So, in my version of this, Teddy is not really Teddy. Teddy is Calico Jack, who is aware of who he is, but has changed his appearance. He's coming to get back at Ed and Seed for killing him. He knows who Teddy is. He goes to Ed and Seed, not on the revenge, because he knows Fang will know who he is and who Teddy is. Ed has heard of Teddy, but he's never met him or anything, right? So Calico Jack knows this whole backstory, and he knows that Ed doesn't know everything about it. So he's going to come back and try to get in with them and cause them some kind of revenge situation. Meanwhile, Izzy in the gravy basket is brought back to life by Buttons. And then Izzy, goes and eventually finds Ed and Seed and this Teddy character, and it's not Teddy, and Izzy recognizes it as Jack because he'll be like, "What the fuck is wrong with you two? Did you not recognize Calico Jack standing right in fucking front of you? Teddy is dead. This is just Jack." And then whatever happens with Jack, and then maybe Mary and Anne come collect him, and they can do whatever they want with him. And then Steady Hands Endgame. Yay.
Okay. So many twists and turns there.
I'm looking forward to seeing you write this.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we're all three going to write our different versions of the Applejack story, which I guess was the last question I had prepared is, what would you want to see Applejack doing in fan fiction? I think we just answered it. Those are our three different versions that now we have to write.
Yeah, but there's so many different things that I think would be really, really fun. I want to see that scene where Applejack, Teddy reunites with Fang. What's that like? What conversation do they have there? Does the crew overhear their conversation? Does Teddy have stories about Izzy to share? And does the crew get to hear those stories?
Yeah, that to me, I think is really interesting because, the Izzy that we meet is so far into his journey of, having been with Blackbeard for so long and what that's done to him and whatever. I would really be interested to hear from someone who loved him in particular. What was he like before?
And I was gonna say too, you're getting on that. What made Izzy fall in love with Teddy? What made Teddy fall in love with Izzy? What were those scenes like? What were the show don't tell scenes? No dialogue. What actions did they do? What was their meet cute like? What was their, he's not possibly into me? What was that like? What was the moment when they realized, maybe he is into me? What made them fall for each other? What was Izzy like before he was a broken little soul? Ringa, that's a question for you. What was Izzy like before he was a broken little soul?
He was still an asshole, but less angry.
Also, for those at home, Ringa's currently hugging a cat as they tell us this.
This is Benny.
Hi, Benny. You're so cute.
Just a purr.
So, Ringa, you said that Kevin Bacon is not Izzy's type. So who would if we were to assume that Teddy and Izzy had in fact been lovers at some point or in the future as lovers, who is his type?
As you had said like Teddy seems to be kind of a himbo a little bit, but also he's got more going on there. I just, Izzy's attracted to like intelligence and strength and competence. And I think Steed is the exception because he's like with everyone because, Steed comes along and everyone's like, what the fuck? But he
is just in things that are different.
I was going to say, I think Teddy is very confident. He fights well. He's a good sniper. He's a couple therapist, right?
But we only get these glimpses of him. So I just don't know. I need to know more about this guy is the thing because I don't know.
I also would argue that Steed is competent. Just
No, he is in his own way. Yeah, but Izzy doesn't think so. Right. I mean, he does. By the end of the second season, I think he
recognizes
Steed is getting there. Yeah. But Teddy, I don't know. It's just his like enthusiasm for Gentlebeard and whatnot that is kind of like to me. But again, if this is Jack, not actually Teddy, he would definitely be like fucking with them. Like, oh my God, it's Gentlebeard. I love you guys. You're great.
I mean, that is a point in the scammer column. I'll give you that. That's a point in the scammer column for sure.
And so Jack would be, because he's all like, oh, thanks, Steve. Everybody, like,
what made Applejack go to that island and want to work for Ed and Steed? What made Applejack know that Izzy was buried on that island?
Because even if it is actually Teddy, he didn't just go there by accident. He knows.
Yeah, I mean, he says as much in David's Christmas fic, right?
Yeah.
That he showed up pretty much on purpose.
Yeah, and he knows.
It really begs the question.
Right. It's just like he must have known there was this thing coming with the badmintons and whatever. And in my story, Jack heard about this and was like, no, they won't be killed before I have a chance to fuck with them. So I'm going to go save them from these guys. And
just to be
fuck with them. Yeah.
Right. And it's not a bad story.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, we did it. We said we were going to do this in about an hour, and we have done so. And
you are such a great host, Andrea. I hope you host many, many episodes.
I will do more once my ADD is under control and I can make myself focus to do anything.
And you're a great host too. I love all the episodes that you have hosted in the past, and so I'm just saying there are two really great hosts here.
I have plans for other ones coming up. I just haven't got to them yet.
Yeah. Well, again, you know where I'm at with my Twilight ideas, but let's discuss fic rec. So here's something, a call to the wild to anyone out there. I don't know how to use AO3 because I'm a late bloomer when it comes to, fandoms. I could only find like 2 Applejack fanfics that were not My Little Pony. And I was like, this can't be right.
That can't be right.
There was, everyone was excited about it. And there was all this fan art everywhere. And now I'm like, I found like 1, and 1 was in Cyrillic. I'm like, well, I can't read that. So maybe y'all had better luck. I only found 1 fanfic in which Applejack was a supporting character. It was very cute. I did enjoy it.
What's it called?
It's called Suffer Never by Aycie, Aycie. A little short story, again, slice of life Innkeeper era, obviously, because Applejack is there. It's a Gentlebeard story, so I am the target audience. And it was great, and I loved it, and I'm glad I found it, but it was like literally the only one I could find. So if there are other Applejack fanfics out there, please send them to me on Blue Sky because I'm too stupid to find them. If they are really not there, please write them because I want to read them.
Okay, I am finding, so what I did is I clicked on the tags, and I'm the tag for Applejack that was in that fic that was posted. And there's one called I'm Haunted by Screaming Cockroach, which I really look forward to. I saw
that one. I read the summary of it.
To reading. There's another, it's in Russian or something. Sorry. The other one is The Great Wet T-Shirt War by Well Sussed. And so,
and I do that. I like a lot of their work.
There's another one that says Let's Suffer Never. That's the one that's dropped in the fic recs. There's art If They Eloped as Planned after season 1.
Yep, I've seen that. Very, very beautiful art. But yeah, there's not a lot.
I found one called Caveside, which seems to take up like right after the fic ended.
Ooh, drop that link in the show notes there.
I will drop that link in the show notes. So that's by Captain_Cat. _Cappy. So there's that. I haven't read it. It's short, but I bear no responsibility if it sucks. But I do have a fic rec that is not Applejack
How
related.
dare you be off topic? Not allowed.
It's a steady hands fic, of course, but it is about jealous Ed and the idea of Izzy like can't be with someone else because he belongs to Ed, and that's just like my favorite thing. So it kind of works on several different ways, because in this story, Izzy hooks up with James Flint, who is another historical pirate. And so it works to Izzy's kind of history beside Ed and Steed, and then it works to Ed being extremely possessive and jealous. And it's called Man on Fire, and it's one of my favorites because Izzy hooks up with Captain Flint. Ed sees like them leaving the back room at Jackie's like all disheveled and is like, what the fuck? And so, then he goes after Izzy, and him and Izzy and Steed have amazing sex, and it's great. So it's by Ajax_thegreat. I probably have wrecked it on here before, but
yeah, I think I've read that one.
It's so good. So that is my rec for today.
Okay, and that is on topic. I take it back because jealous Ed. So
yeah, and if you want to drop that in the show notes too.
Well, yeah.
So those are our fic recs. And again, a call to action. Please write more Applejack. The three of us just gave a bunch of prompt ideas that maybe we'll write, but who can say?
And then tag us if you write your Applejack fics. Tag us on.
We can make it into a podfic. You can make it into a podfic.
Please do. Yes, I would like to read them.
Yeah.
Well, that was our wonderful Applejack discussion. Applejack, we love you wherever you are, whoever you are.
Whoever
if you're
you
a scammer, if you're not a scammer, we still love you. We're your biggest fans. But wrapping things up, what are y'all working on? Where can people find you? Is there anything you want to promote?
So Tessa and I have been working on a series of Bigfoot episodes for Haunted Hollywood Hour, and these there's going to be 3 so far total. Very in-depth discussions, very in-depth stories of people in Southern California encountering Bigfoot, and they're fascinating. Tessa is hilarious. She has the greatest commentary on everything. So our first Bigfoot episode is dropping tomorrow on Haunted Hollywood Hour. And by the time this episode drops, there will be another one the following Tuesday. So if you haven't checked out Haunted Hollywood Hour, definitely give it a listen.
And we're both on that too.
Yes.
We can't get rid of it.
Yeah. Ringa and Andrea are on it too occasionally. So check it out.
Yep. For me, you can find me everywhere on socials as Ringasun, RINGSUNN. I am mostly on Instagram. I don't open everything else very much because I'm busy and tired. But coming up is my next Calypso party at Harold's Haunt. So that is May 24th, which is just about a month away. And it's at Harold's Haunt in Millvale, which is just outside of Pittsburgh, literally just across the river from the city of Pittsburgh. So if you're anywhere nearby to Pittsburgh, come up for this. It's going to be a super fun party. This is the 4th one. Do them twice a year. And it's going to have some exciting new things at it. And you won't want to miss it. So follow Harold's Haunt on Instagram and see updates as they happen.
Yeah.
Everyone who's on the East Coast should go and have fun.
You
yes,
should.
And be a pirate.
And Andrea, what are you doing?
What am I doing? What am I ever doing? I am on Blue Sky, lurking and not saying much. Same on O3. But I did write my first ever Substack post, which I'm really proud of. And it is about our lost episode that I tried to record in Aotearoa with my friends when I was there, and the audio didn't work. But my username on Substack, what year is it? How old am I? Is that the right phrase?
Sure. I mean,
yeah. What is it? Handle,
maybe, or and the username too. But
I'm an elder millennial, so who knows what I'm saying? Anyway, my name on the internet is Pajarito_Botones. That's on Blue Sky and on Substack. So find me there and send me things about Applejack because that's what I want to hear. So with that, thank you everyone for joining us. We hope to see you again very soon. Send in podfics, post your own episode. Tell us what you want us to talk about, and we can't wait to interact with you more. We love this fandom, and I believe our closing tagline is "Be cringe and do crime." Am I getting that right? What is the whole thing?
And make creations.
No. Do creations, be cringe, commit crime.
There we go.
I'll let you say it.
I have purposefully never memorized that because it's funny that I just don't know what it is.
To say any variation. So we're going to make creations, be cringe, do crime.
Close enough.
Close.
Okay, bye.
Bye.